to start off, do we have any health and welfare needs? I did want was involved in a bicycle accident and he received a concussion and a cracked rib, and he's healing up. So he may not be able to attend the April 17th McCracken sale. So keep him in your guys' prayers.
Who is that? Is that Dave Wise?
Yeah, David
Oh,
Wise.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there
Oh
any?
my gosh.
Are there any other health and welfare?
I have one, Pat. This is Mark.
Go ahead.
Robbie is not feeling well. He had the jab a couple days ago and wasn't feeling too good last night. And so probably won't be part of our agenda today.
Oh, okay. Do you know for May then, would you be able to go ahead and speak on the ham radio?
I think so, yeah. I should
Okay.
be a little bit less crazy by May.
Okay, great. All right. Franklin, could you put him for sure, switch it so the ham radio presentation tech talk is in May?
Sure will.
Yeah, and Robbie and I will do that. Unless other people want to add in too. But I was talking with him last night about it. And he's
Okay.
just under the weather today too, as well. So
Did you come up with any other organizations, ham radio clubs or colleges that we can extend our internship to?
I think I sent you a link to the Ducks Club and a UO. And I think I sent you one from Clackamas Community College or someplace over that way.
Oh, okay. Can
I
you
have a
resend-
question.
Go ahead.
Pat, how close are you to your phone? Are other people hearing them break up, or is it on my end?
I'm breaking up, or Pat's breaking up.
Pat.
I'm about a foot from my phone.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it must be on my end. I'm sorry.
Is
Great.
there any, I got a question. Is there any more details on what Robbie has? I mean, is he just not feeling well?
Yeah, he's just not feeling well.
Okay.
He is feeling tired and muscular, but his muscles are sore.
Did he just recently get a COVID-19 shot?
Yeah, 2 days ago, I think, or 3 days ago, or something like that.
Okay, we need to put 2 and 2 together.
Oh, I thought I mentioned that he had a shot a couple days ago,
Oh,
but that's, yeah, for sure.
Mark, I hate to ask again, but could you resend those links to me for the community colleges and the ham radio clubs?
Sure, I can look for him again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure I have the emails, sent email somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. My problem is trying to find them because I do get a few emails.
I suppose, yeah.
Okay. If there aren't any other health and welfare issues, then we'll go to the next part, which is leads and needs.
Yeah, Pat,
Go.
a week or so ago on I got an email, or it was a club email, and somebody was looking for one of these antenna gizmos and a 300 ohm for an old television. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a picture of it on the email, but I had deleted the email. And if anyone remembers who that was, what club member it was that was looking for one.
I think it was Dan Olson, if I remember right.
It was definitely Dan.
is that a TV input connector is what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
I was cruising around and found an old VCR in my closet. And I got it working. I'm playing around with it, playing some old tapes. And I found a couple of these 300 ohm deals with a little sockets on them for coax cable, and I remember seeing that. The guy was having trouble trying to find one somewhere. I got two of them. Just what I need.
Okay, I assume Dan's not online.
I don't know if he is or not. I thought he was a club member.
I just put in the meeting minutes that Dick has one of those for the person that needed it. And should be close enough.
Okay,
Although they won't get the meeting minutes for a month.
I've got a roster, but it came out printed so small I can't read the darn thing. I'm glad. That must be something in the air that makes that happen.
okay, are there any other health, welfare, leads and needs?
I do have a question because I saw something about what it said David Wise, something about David Wise there.
Oh, yes, he was involved in a bicycle accident, and so he suffered a concussion and a cracked rib, so he's
Wow.
healing.
Oh, okay. That's better than COVID, I guess.
Okay, if there aren't any more leads and needs, does anyone have any old business they want to bring up? Okay, we'll switch over to new business. New business, we need someone to store the extension cords and the power outlets. Robbie has them now, but we need those for anytime we have a show or a picnic or a sale. So if someone's got some extra room, it's about 4 storage bins, you know, those little tubbies that plastic things you store crap in. So we need someone that has room to store 3 of those for the extension cords. Okay, next on the list, new business, is that we're picking up the remains for the Jorgen estate today, and then those will be available for the auction on April 24th. There's been a change in date. Sunday wasn't great because people are saying, hey, you know, that's church or family day or whatever. So we switched it back to the 24th. So it's Saturday, and we should start that again at 9 a.m. for the auction. And we'll open the Grange up at 8 a.m. to help set up. We also have the evening before Friday, on Friday evening, that we can come in and dump stuff off. So again, we'll be looking for volunteers to help set up and also take down after the auction. So basically, this auction is going to contain the items from the Jorgen estate plus the Don Hunker estate, but that will be auctioned off, and they will receive 80% of the proceeds of that, and they'll give us a 20% donation if we auction the items off. The Jorgensen estate is 100% donation, so everything that is auctioned off and sold, it goes directly to the club. And also at this April 24th, Tom Hoskins will be showing up with the Rick Ryan estate items for sale. And if anyone knows Rick, he had a very nice collection of high-end Bakelite and wood radios. So the estate wants to sell it, and they want to have a tribute for his grandkids to be able to go to Disneyland. So they are looking to sell all these radios. So does anyone have a question on the sale and auction on the 24th of this month?
That's at the Grange in Oregon City.
Yes, yes. Standard, COVID-19 rules, wear masks, sign the waiver, and practice social distancing, just like we had for the mini sale in March.
Somebody mentioned the Grange in Oregon City. You mean the VFW Hall?
No, Dick, this is the April 24th. It's on a Saturday at the Grange. This is the auction.
Abernathy Grange.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one in the BWF is for Saturday, May 15th in Aurora. That's our regular spring radio sale.
Hey, Pat, if,
Yeah.
if you sign one of those waiver forms, like from the last sale at the Grange, are you keeping those on
Yes.
file?
Yes,
So-
yes.
Okay, so people don't have to fill one out every time. Okay.
No, they're only good for 6 months.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, next up under new business is Don Hunker's estate. We still need people to help pick up and sort and store all the items. Steve Hunker is Don's son, and he wants the club to pick up all his items and auction them off. And I warned him, I said, this is probably the worst time to sell anything because, the prices aren't high. And he's agreeing with that. I have a feeling that they probably want to move on the items so that they can clear out his house and probably put it up for sale. So I've already warned him that the auction's probably not going to bring very much money compared to putting on eBay or Radio Attic, but he's good with that. He just wants the club to go ahead and auction it off for the estate. So Steve Hunker's going to call us in the next week, and I would like to be able to pick it up and have it available for the April 24th auction. So we're looking for a couple people to help pick the items up, and I believe Dan has agreed to store them in his garage. The pickup point is going to be in where Don Hunker lived, which is in Forest Grove.
It sounds like that sale on the 24th is gonna have a lot of radios.
Yeah, it'll have a few. Don Hunker didn't have a lot of radios. There's a list and stuff, but he's got test equipment and radios, car radios, manuals, tools. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. So, but not tons and tons of radios, though, unfortunately.
What's gonna
So-
happen to the stuff if it doesn't, the stuff that doesn't sell? Say you have a handful of items that don't sell, do you have to return them to Steve Hunker, or what's the deal on that?
Oh, that's a good point. We'll probably have to ask the family if they can just be donated so people just take them home, like on a free table, or if they want any unsold items back. We'll discuss that with them when we pick the items up here early next week. But I imagine the answer to that question is if no one bids on it, they don't want it back. Because that means they have to dispose of it, like donate it to Goodwill or something, if they'll take it.
Goodwill's getting pretty finicky.
They are?
Yeah.
Well, what's Goodwill gonna do with a bunch of old radios?
Right.
I've seen them for sale in their stores before.
But I bet not very many.
No, they don't
Yeah.
get very many, but
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I can answer that question about what Goodwill does with them. Can people hear me?
yeah.
Yes, Phil?
Okay, yeah, I'm Phil Rossi, and as I sent an email to Pat, Goodwill has a nationwide online auction site, and it's called shopgoodwill.com. And normally, and they have computers and electronics category. And I've had very good luck with shopgoodwill.com. I have a Philco 95, I have a Radiola 17, I have a Radiola 18, and each one of these was bought from shopgoodwill.com. For those heavy type radios, the Philco 95 is a console, it's a lowboy. And of course, everybody knows the weight of a Radiola 17 and 18 with those, transformers in them. Those are local pickup, but they take consoles such as my Philco 95. The place for distribution, or where you pick them up for here for the heavy ones, is Hillsboro, the big facility they have in Hillsboro. But I've had very, very good luck. The prices are competitive. Not, it depends on the radio. For the smaller radios, they'll ship them anywhere in the country. But for the heavy ones, it's a local pickup, and they'll specify that on the website. So I'd recommend people go to www.shopgoodwill.com and take a look at there's normally vintage radios there. I see them all the time, and they are for sale. And as I told Pat, it sure beats dumping them into the dump when there's people like me out here that pick them up. I had Blake and Gary Marvin restore each of those 3 radios, and they're absolutely beautiful. They work. They're gorgeous set pieces for my house, which is on the National Register of Historic Places. So all vintage to the house. My house was built in 1929. These radios are all 1928 to 30. And so I'd recommend taking a look. It's a good deal. You may have to drive up to Hillsboro to pick up a heavier or larger set, but it's certainly a viable option. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, next up on the new business is McCracken is going to have another estate sale with radios on the 16th and 17th. And the time is, it starts at 7:45 a.m. and goes until like 5. So just want to let you guys know that starts on Friday, and it's also on Saturday, but it's not just a radio sale, it's an estate sale, so everything else. So you may want to take your wives there, because I'll have all the other items for sale as well, not just radios. So
you said the 16th too, Friday, at what time?
7:45 a.m.
Oh,
is
okay.
the start time for both Friday and Saturday.
Great. Thanks, Pat.
Sure. Okay, and next up is cleanup at the Abernathy Grange. As Christian mentioned, he was going to go there. They're just asking people to show up at 1 o'clock today, p.m. at the Grange to help clean up, the grounds up. And I assume that means, leaf pickup, raking, cutting down brush, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you're required to wear mask or anything like that, but I would assume you should probably take one just in case if you need to, if they request it. So that's 1 o'clock at the Grange.
Do you have to bring your own garden tools?
No, she didn't specify anything like that. I assume that the Grange already has all their groundkeeping, equipment there.
I thought on the email, they wanted people to bring like chainsaw if they had those. So they wanted, if you had probably some kind of mechanical tools. I don't think there's going to be enough to go around unless you got a lawn care service coming in there. Probably bring your own, whatever you think you can use to help up. There's just going to be pickup, I'm sure, too. Just hands, labor, I would assume.
Okay, new business. We have a guest, Kyle. Kyle, do you have any questions? You want to introduce yourself or anything? Kyle's the vice president of the Ham Radio Club, but was it OHSU?
Yeah, so I am the vice president of the W7 OSU Oregon State Ham Radio Club, just down here at Oregon State University in Corvallis. Is there any other questions? I could do a little intro about the club.
Sure.
So W7 OSU has actually a pretty rich history here at Oregon State. I'd bring out and show you guys all of our contact cards from, going back at least 4 or 5 decades. But we can't actually get into our club room at the moment because of the coronavirus restrictions, although I feel like that's going to be letting up very soon. So I'm very hopeful about that. We've operated here at Oregon State, like I said, for quite a few decades. We have several antennae just mounted on the top of Snell Hall, and then we operate one on-campus UHF repeater, and we have one VHF repeater on Vineyard Mountain nearby. Our goal is basically to increase this, this new generation's interest in amateur radio in all of its forms. Whether that's just making contacts using voice, using PSK31, or even introducing people to new digital radios, because a lot of people like, remote control cars and that sort of thing, and like showing people how to, perhaps make their own version of that using amateur radio. And besides that, just, sharing really interesting things that we see online about ham radio on our Discord server. So we've got a news feed on there, which is pretty cool. Keeps us up to date on all the ARRL information. So question, what type of information or what type of equipment do we have in the shack? We've got a Kenwood's TS1000, I think it is. It's a nice little Kenwood radio connected to a couple of our computers so that we can do digital modes. And then we have this, we've got, aside from that, we have several radios in the room that like aren't being turned on right now, but yeah, it's been like a year since I've been in the club room, so unfortunately I've forgotten some of the stuff that we have in there. Terribly sorry about that. Yeah, so this year we're trying to ramp things up again so that we can get more interest in the club, get more interest in ham radio from people here at Oregon State, and try to get back into the groove. Are any members active in the microwave bands? Are your members active in the microwave bands? So yeah, we do have a couple. We do have a couple members who are active right now. Again, we can't go into the club room, and some of the people don't have nice ham radios for like high frequency. But our club president actually carries around a Yaesu on him at all times. Interesting lad. So he's active on UHF. I like to listen to the police on VHF. Down here in Corvallis, they're still unencrypted, which is nice. And then Declan, I think, is in the chat. He's active on high frequency quite a bit. The microwave band specifically, I don't know. I'd love to get into it. The most I've done is FSTV using, I hate to say it, but I'm one of those people who flies quadcopters around, but it's a racing quadcopter that I built myself, and it uses a FSTV link over 5.8 gigahertz. So I guess I am the guy who is active in microwave. Is there any other questions I can answer? No? Well, thank you guys for inviting me to your meeting. I'll stay here and listen to the rest of it. And I think it's all really cool.
Thank you.
I got a quick question for Kyle.
Of
Kyle,
course.
I'm taking the meeting minutes. What's your last name?
Magnus, Magness.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, Kyle, thanks so much. To entice younger members, we have had a program to offer free memberships to Kyle and his group of people, and we're hoping that they'll take advantage of it. So Kyle, please pass on, that we're trying to get new and younger members to join our radio society.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to have our first meeting of the term this Monday. We'll be having weekly meetings from there on. But you guys kind of caught us at a transition point between terms. So near the end of a term, sometimes the meetings kind of break down because being students, we need to study for finals. And at the beginning of the term, we still need time to schedule everything. So next week, we're going to have our first either a Zoom or a Discord chat meeting. And heck, we'll try to get ourselves up on a net as well. There was a question, is the Mosley beam on the roof still active? If that refers to the 3-element Yagi up there that's on a motor for rotating, that thing is still working. There's a couple other antennae on the roof, but we had to take one of them down. That was a ladder line antenna. I'm not sure if the monthly beam is still active. Truth be told, I'm not sure which one it is. All right. I'll do a little bit of research on that and see, and go up there and, you know, take a look at it and see if it's still there. I'll get back to you on that, Mark.
Okay,
Awesome.
oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
with that, I leave it back. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, with that, I leave it back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Just as a note here, if you remember on the McCracken sale, Kathy called me back up and said that she wants to have a special Radio Club only member sale on Saturday, June 5th. And that's in that at her place. What she's going to offer is the radios that are still remaining at 20% off. Plus, this will be the first time that the vacuum tubes will be available. I advised her to not put the vacuum tubes in one lot, but break them up into several lots to give our members more of a chance to buy the tubes rather than one person comes in, buys the whole lot, and then everyone else is left out. So she's agreed to take the tubes. This is the first time they're going to be up for sale, and she's going to have multiple lots. So I know a lot of times when we've been down there, there's not a lot of people from the club show up because it's a ways to go. But I want to encourage you guys to go down there if you're interested in the tubes. And like I say, this is for club members only. So what I plan to do is send her a current roster of the club members so she knows who is and who isn't a member. But you may want to mark that down June 5th as another sale down there. And I will make sure that that's in the May call letter. Because like I say, it's June 5th, so it will be before our Zoom meeting in June.
Where is that, Pat, when you say down there?
Oh, it's in Crogsfordsville. Do you know where Sweet Home, Oregon is?
Yes.
It's, I don't know, like 7 miles west of the road that goes into Sweet Home from I-5. And I'm not familiar with the numbers or names of the roads, but it's fairly close to Sweet Home.
Okay, so it's about 120 miles or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's about, what, 2 hours, 15 minutes drive from Portland, from down there, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up, Jeff Martin, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Would you care to go ahead and speak on anything that the Salvation Army is doing for auctioning radios?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure they're doing it yet, but my hope is I've talked to the guy in charge of all the Salvation Army thrift stores for the area. And what I did was I asked him, could you put together a bunch of old radio kind of related stuff whenever it comes in, and then just decide on one day when that's going to be auctioned off, and then they could call a member of the club, and then everybody would know that there's going to be radio related things to be auctioned. I really don't know how often they get the stuff. When I was in Oregon before, I attended the auction a couple of times at the Salvation Army, where they just have pallets full of stuff. And I really didn't see anything that was separated out or nothing even worth bidding on, that I found. But I think what happens is a lot of time they see old radio stuff and it looks like junk, and so they throw it away. So they get a few things that they put in their thrift stores, and they'll probably continue to do that, for sale to the general public. But what I asked him was, could you ask your teams to put together all the stuff that seems radio related, and then call a member of the club and say, on such and such a date, we're going to have an auction that includes radio stuff. that way it's separated and maybe something will come out of it. So I don't know why I never thought of this before, but I was just talking to the guy who's in charge of everything and happened to think about that. So it may work out to be something good, maybe not. So we just have to wait and see if they really follow through on their end. And I gave him Pat, I gave him your contact information. So if they're able to do it, hopefully they'll give you a call. And I'll try to follow it up on my end as well again.
Okay, Jeff, thanks.
Hey, Pat.
Joe.
Could you put the address for Kathy McCracken back up on the website for, before the sale and this on the 17th? So people like, for instance, Dave or someone else that hasn't been there, then they have the address, they can MapQuest it and do all that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's going to be up to Mark Moore because he's the webmaster, but I'll put a note out to him.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll send out an email that Sunny put out. So it's got her contact, name, address, phone number, that kind of stuff. We'll resend that.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So we're working on a process to inform the club members when there's any kind of estate or sale for vintage electronics. I've contacted people at the estatefinder.com, and the plan is to have all of the people that do estate sales put in a description anytime there's vintage electronics. And so the plan would be to go ahead and create a process that would go ahead and scan through certain websites looking for keywords. And then when we find, let's say, a radio sale or vintage electronics, we'll get an email back, and then we can send that link out to club or members so that they know that there is an upcoming estate sale that has vintage electronics. So if anyone out there goes through Craigslist or eBay or any of the auction sites looking for stuff, I'd like to be able to talk to you because I kind of want to create a process where we can group all these things so that anytime something comes up for sale or auction, that our club members are kept aware of it. So does anyone have any other new business? Any questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, 31 people participating. That's quite a good number.
Yes, it is. Lyles, do you know about how many people usually attend when we're meeting in person?
I haven't been writing it down, but it's usually just been about around 20 or something like that. But
No. I mean before COVID. How many members usually showed up at the Grange when we met in person?
50 to 60, Pat, when I was counting them.
Oh.
But that was at the height of it. Just before it ended, that was at the height of our attendance. I mean, 50 to 60. 60 is packed in there. That's standing room only.
Okay, I'm right in the middle of a Zoom meeting. I sure will.
Okay.
Already.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
So 30 is quite a few. I mean, that's more than half, really.
Yeah, and that's been the highest so far. Usually it's around 20 to 25 for Zoom meetings.
Great. Okay, well, if there's any other, I'm going to turn it over to you, Franklin, for the monthly feature.
Okay, our monthly feature is O, so everybody has their O radios. Who would like to go first?
Well, I have an old radio. My father-in-law recently, he passed away last year, and we're cleaning out his house. But it's not that old a radio. He's basically had a ton of transistor radios. And so one of them was this Optimus radio. It's Radio Shack radio that is, it's AM, FM, and I'm assuming from the looks and the feel, it's probably late 60s. So, it's pretty old, I guess, if you're comparing radios to today, because it's individual transistor technology. I don't know how many transistors are in it, but it runs on a couple of AA batteries and goes for quite a while before they wear down. And of course, it's got that pocket transistor sound to it. You can't beat it. Just the high notes. So anyway, that's my O for the meeting.
Thank you, Larry.
How common are O radios?
Not very common.
Not
Anybody
very.
else with an O radio?
I actually have another old radio, but it's a Tonica, and I bought that back in the early 80s. As it's a stereo AM FM receiver with multiple inputs, and it's got about 80 watt RMS per channel on it, and it's still working. I had to repair it once, but it's transistor, but it also has ICs in it for the radio receiver. So it's
Larry, what's the name of it again?
what, the one I just showed you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this
the one you didn't show us.
It's an Optonica, Tomica, something like that. I've
Okay.
never seen any other ones around, but I got it at it was a discount stereo store many years ago. Somebody broke into my house and stole my Pioneer SX6000, so I had to replace it, and that's what I replaced it with.
Well, this topic is kind of, there's not very many radios with O's in them, so I got your Optimus, and I'm just going to write down that you had an Optonica, and that should be good enough for the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't have any O radios.
I'm surprised I did.
Dan does. What's Dan got there?
This was made by the Oregon Department of Forestry. Back in the 1930s, we were seeing radio getting out into the forest, led by the Federal Radio Lab in East Portland. And the Oregon Department of Forestry, not the federal, but the local Oregon one, copied a federally made receiver called an SV radiophone and made their own version. This is called the FX.
They're gonna be gone all day. So if you want to come over and help after you're done, or call me and let me know if there's anything you can do.
Okay.
Mike?
Yeah,
Mike,
I'll
could
check
you
with
go on
you.
mute, please,
Okay.
buddy?
Okay. Thanks.
Mike, could you go on mute, please? Thank you. So this is a 10-meter transceiver, uses 7 tubes. Right now, it's out of its case. It comes in a wooden case that also contains an antenna, batteries, speaker, and mic. Well, actually, the speaker's right here. Uses a regen for the receiver. I'll give you a shot of the back.
Nice.
Yeah, it uses a mix of well, it's basically octals. This was basically state of the art through the 30s and 40s. They would take these out on the fire line so that they could communicate with a base station for updates about where the fire was moving, if additional crews were needed or whatever. Later, after the Oregon Department of Forestry basically prototyped this and proved that it was functional, they contracted with Radio Specialty Manufacturing in Portland, and they made a lot more of them through Radio Specialty. But this is one of the earlier ones that was made in-house by the Department of Forestry.
All right, Dan, Dan, are those regen radios?
It is.
Okay, that's not, that's what I thought.
Yeah. If you'll pardon me for just a second here, we're going to reset I'm gonna bring in this big cathedral behind me and Dad's gonna talk about it. He's gonna talk about it. Looks good. This is an Ozarka. It was made in the middle 30s. Pretty rare radio. It was made just before they went out of business. And I've only found one picture of another one online. It's pretty rare. Dan has had it for 40 years, I think. And what I can tell you about it isn't very much. It's rather crude work, but it's all intact. Sold under the Viking, and it was sold under the Viking name.
What's the name of that again, Dick? I missed it.
It's a Viking by Ozarka.
Ozarka. Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, rather scarce. Here's a rear view of it, and this little gem is 17 inches wide and 17 inches high, and a backbreaker.
Did you say it was Ozarka? Did you say it was a Viking radio made by Ozarka?
Yes, Ozarka made it under the Viking trade name.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, now I have to go and get him some aspirin for his back after he lifted the thing.
Dick and Dan, you should know your audio is really restricted in bandwidth. It's the highs are missing, so it's kind of hard to understand you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
You thought you should know.
Thanks, Dan and Dick. Thank you very much. Richard, do you have your hand up? Did you want to say something? I guess he doesn't. Okay, so that was our O radios. I think anybody else have any other O radios? Okay, I'll give it back to Pat.
Okay, thanks, Franklin. Next up, we've got the recording secretary for minutes from the March meeting.
Oh, say that again.
Oh, Lyles, you're up.
You're up.
The minutes of the last meeting are published in the call letter. I didn't get my call letter yet. Did you guys get yours?
Yes.
Yep, I got mine.
Oh, okay. Hopefully mine will come today.
Is yours, you get a paper copy, Lyles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because we got ours electronically. So the electronic one came through. So on email.
Oh, okay.
So you should get yours pretty soon, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the paper copy already.
You got it already? Okay.
Yeah, it came in last night.
Oh.
Strange.
Any questions about the minutes that are either online or in paper? Shouldn't be any questions. I mean, hopefully there's no questions.
Make a motion to minutes to be approved.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's carried. Next up is Ed here, Treasurer's Report.
No, Ed was having trouble with his email and stuff, so he wasn't able to open up the Zoom meeting this time. He should get it fixed, but he told me, just in case that happens, to let everybody know that that there's not much has changed with the finances. Everything's still pretty much the same, and the Jim Mason Fund is still still making money like it has been. So I don't have any figures on the balances or nothing like that, but he just said to tell everyone that everything's okay.
Okay, great, Mike, thanks. Let's see, I don't think Robbie's here. He called me up and said he might not be able to make it today, but May 15th, that's the third Saturday of May, we're going to have our spring sale in Aurora. So you can contact Robbie for a table. I believe the tables are still $15 each, and you can set up Friday evening. And Robbie also wanted to mention that Arlene's Cuisine will also be there, so she'll have some kind of a lunch and snacks available for sale.
Pat, what's the date again?
Saturday, May 15th.
Got it.
In Aurora.
Okay.
And we can set up on Friday the 14th. Is that correct, Pat?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We're gonna have to sign a disclaimer for that to participate. A COVID disclaimer.
I don't know. That's a question for Robbie. Robbie's been dealing with Lisa, and I don't know.
Well, if in doubt, just take one.
Is Don here for the call letter update?
Yes, I am. Hi, Pat. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, this was I really thought this was a good issue, and I want to thank everybody for contributing. In the last one too, they've both been full of good stuff, and I enjoy putting these together when they're like that. I even had a little bit of stuff left over. One of the agenda items is a UPS. Pat talked to me earlier about doing that. Or UPS is uninterruptible power supplies for people who have PCs or laptops with that are used for club business. And I didn't do an exhaustive survey, but I did some checking, and generally, and they just keep the power up for a few minutes, so you can shut down safely. That's really what they're for, without losing data because of damage to your computer and stuff. So it's a good thing to have if you have important stuff, but it won't let you spend a couple hours doing club work or anything. And I found a couple articles with a lot of good background stuff, and what it looks like is that it costs about $150 from Amazon for one that's good for 850 watts and has regulation, which you want. So, and then I'm reading that there's more. I mean, this would have to run your monitor and your PC and speakers if you have them too, or anything else you're using. So just generally, it says 600 watts, enough to power a budget gaming PC and a standard monitor. 800, enough to power a mid-range gaming PC. That's a modern gaming PC. I think if your computer is 5 years old or more, it's probably going to use more power than a new one. So I think that's something they don't usually mention, because a lot of these articles are for gamers. Anyway, and then 1,000 plus watts is enough to power a high-end gaming PC and a TV and stuff. So, and a lot of these have two power specifications. One of them is watts, and another one is voltamps, or VA, which has to do with the fact that when you have a reactive load that's has some inductive or a capacitive component to it. What you're measuring is the power that's used and also some of the reflected power. And so they measure that in they call it volt amps, because it's not really the amount of power it's using, it's a higher number. So these will have, like one that's 850 watts will have the VA like somewhere over 1,000. I don't have one up right here, but and then they're also talking about your the wave shape, and I think that's going to jump the price up more. And the reason why they say that is that some of the more newer power supplies have what's called power factor correction, which removes the reactive component, and it helps. Power companies like that, and it helps your PC work better. Anyway, if your wave isn't a sine wave, it's going to confuse the power factor correction circuitry in your power supply, and your computer won't work right, or it may not work right. So there's that, and I would have to go look some more. And then the batteries, the internal batteries of the UPS, they're mostly rated about 3 years, and that's what the warranties will be. So that paperwork has to be done right, because otherwise you buy a new battery if it poops out early. And then there's the software, so your PC has to be able to run whatever that is. That's about it. So I would say $150 and up from Amazon for something that probably works. And if we did, I would get one of them, and with a return option, and just see how it works, or go somewhere that has one if there's such a thing. But see how it works on something that we run in the real world. That's about it. I can put some more information, put some of that in an email and send to whoever needs it. So the board can decide that.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thanks, Don. I got a message from Kyle to everyone. He says that you can buy one that will power everything fairly cheaply. So he's going to research and get us some model numbers and stuff. But this whole thing came up because Don lives in kind of a secluded area. And I believe there was 1 month where he was out of power and everything, and he couldn't do the call letter. And I think we missed the call letter that month because of snow or wind or something. But anyhow, he lost power lines and wasn't able to, to do anything. So
yeah, that was a few years ago. This time, they picked the right time to lose the power because it didn't affect any of that. But I was out for 10 days. So,
right.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had enough stuff to deal with it, but spent a long time looking at the ceiling. So,
right.
yeah, there was 6 breaks between me and the pavement. So I wasn't the first on their list, and my neighbors too. Fun.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. It's just an idea, and I'm proposing that we look into this and get our call letter editor, something that would ensure, that he has uninterrupted power to be able to complete the call letter if it happened again.
Well, I think a laptop with a way to charge the battery might do that, but I don't have one. So unless the club wants to get me one, I don't think that's going to get very far.
Well, I don't know. I know that other members of the club have had used laptops that they've been able to provide other people, fairly reasonably priced. So maybe we can see if someone in the club has one they're upgrading and don't need. Because Don, you don't need a real powerful one, do you? Laptop?
Oh no, and I could run it on Linux too. I'm familiar with using Linux, so I wouldn't have to pay for an OS if it needs it.
Okay, okay. Sounds great. So any members out there who have
I
a,
shouldn't say, I'll put it tentatively on that because I'd have to find out about getting the Microsoft Office. I know they make, Office that works on Linux, but I haven't really dug into it.
okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Don, that was a great issue. It was full of great stuff. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Then if there's anything else, I don't believe we got Tech Talk this month, so we'll turn it over to Mike and Tube of the Month.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of a misnomer, but the Tube of the Month is the 01A, and then actually it is a UX. For instance, I have some RCA tubes here. Let me see if I can get it so you can see it a little better. Because it's actually a UX201A if you want to get technical, but everybody calls it an 01A. So it pretty much fit for the month, for the O month for this month. And this, I just happen to have 3 RCA Radiotron UX201As. These are made in the 20s or possibly early 30s. They're globe tubes, and they go mainly are used in battery sets, from the 20s. And they run on 5 volts and for filament voltage. But just have the radiotrons here, which their coding on that starts with a UX. There are so many different manufacturers of the 01A back in those days that they all had different codings. Like you would have, for instance, this is a UX, or they'd have I can't remember all of them. And I'm sure some of you other guys can remember what those are. But I thought I had some Cunninghams, and I didn't. All I had to show are these RCAs, but these are really nice tubes. These are actually good tubes, and I pulled them out of my Feta 265, and it plays very well. And this is a 5-tube set, has 4 01As and 171A in it, and it's a good working radio. And this one here has a label on it. It says tested tube number C, and then it says SE company, and I'm not sure who that is or where they're from. But it's got a nice label on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. You might be able to.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. And that's pretty much all I really have for the 01A. They are amplifying tubes, for the early TRF battery sets in the 20s. So, any other questions?
Yeah, what year did that tube originate?
Oh, that's a good question, Christian. I believe, I thought it was like about 1922. Lyles, you might know the answer to that better than I would. I'm just trying to get the tube manual out here and look to see, because it'll say. By the way, this is a good book too. I might as well show it to you while I'm going to grab it out. This is a tube lore book 2 by Ludwell Sibley. And if you have a chance to find one of these or get one, it's an absolute wonderful book. It gives you all kinds of information on vacuum tubes. Let's see. And I think the Forest, and I don't know if I can look it up that quickly, but I'll try and see. But I think it was around 22. Lyles, do you have any idea or information when the first 01As came out? Was it earlier than that?
Mike, not off the top of my head. I'd say early 20s, unless someone knows more different than that.
Right. Yeah. That's what I think too. There were some earlier versions of it. There was the 201, and then And I believe that could have had a different either filament voltage or current, not sure about that. But then they settled on the O1A or and then the different manufacturers, some of them were 201A, some of them are 301A, and so on too. So that would also tell you, you know, who manufactured that tube. So they had a lot of coatings, but mainly later on, it all came down to when they dropped a lot of that, then it just became the O1A.
I think the
Mike.
O1A was introduced in 1922.
Yeah, I think so, Oz. That's what I kind of remember hearing that, but I wasn't sure right off the top of my head. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I just did a quick search and that's what they said. Whether
Okay.
you can trust it or not, I don't know.
You did better searching for it than I did.
Mike, would you say that that's the most common battery set tube?
Yeah, I believe it's the most common battery set tube. I think the most common tube of the 1920s.
So Mike, is it O or 01A?
I believe it's 01A, but everybody calls it an O1A. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Because if you look on the bottom of one of these tubes, it says Radiotron UX 201A is actually what is on the base right there. I don't know if you can read that or not. So, but you know how people talk and perceive language when they're talking about a 0 or an O, you know, you can switch that around any way you want. And I think it's become a common practice for everybody to call those tubes an O1A when they're actually technically a 01A. It's just, maybe it's easier to say. I don't know.
Well, Mike, we really need to have some of the true experts out here, but I've been doing a little bit of digging. As you know, without water Kents, you're going to end up with a lot of O1As. And so I had quite a few of them that kind of meander through.
Oh, good.
But in the research that I was looking at, it appears as though when it came out, RCA didn't have any manufacturing really for tubes until the 30s. And they actually sold GE tubes, and I think Westinghouse were the two that made it, but branded it for RCA. So a lot of all those RCAs weren't made by RCA, at least until 1930.
Interesting.
That makes sense. You know, you hear about a lot of that, Cliff.
So a couple of things that you might find interesting, I've got some other rebranded things. Certainly Montgomery Ward's had their series of tubes. I don't know who made those. Certainly Cunningham is an interesting company. Everybody's got Cunningham O1As, but it looks like Cunningham didn't actually make O1As. They were simply rebranded through RCA from GE or some of the other companies, but actually Cunningham up until about 1930 or later.
Yeah. So they were actually rebranded a couple of times, actually, in other words, Cliff. Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting.
So one of the other things I kind of found is there are other manufacturers that I can't find out much about. I have tubes from one called Goody, Goode. It's kind of an interesting tube in that in the ads for it, I don't know whether you can see the ad for it here or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got 2 or 3 of those tubes here. That is actually referred to as a 201, TWO dash the letter O, because it's lowercase, dash ONE.
Well,
And
maybe
then
I'm wrong on that too. Maybe it actually is the letter O in there, but you know, I don't know.
No, I don't think so for all the rest of the manufacturers.
Oh, for all the rest. Okay.
If you actually look at the top of the tube, that's kind of the arrangement. It does show that it's a 1/4 amp and that it's a 5-volt tube.
Right.
The A is in a big letter in the middle. And of course, the A designation was the 1/4 amp version of that triode.
Right. Good. I'm glad you clarified that because I wasn't sure because I knew that they had gone from a different current, I believe, from what you're saying. And then the 01, the A version settled on the quarter amp.
There's one other little thing I thought you'd find interesting. None of them were 01As, right? We all did the apostrophe 01A, whether it was a 201 or a 301 or whatever that might have been, until about 1932. And in 1932, they came out with a shouldered version of an 01A, and they actually labeled this tube 01A. There is no other designation in front of it.
Oh,
so
wow.
officially, this is the kind of only 01A in reality.
Interesting.
Wow, that's cool.
Anyway, more than I'm talking past my pay grade. So again, we need to verify some of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Cliff. You helped out, gave a lot more information than I had. So appreciate that.
I think one of the interesting things is that about how popular the tube was. I found a statistic that said that in 1924, RCA sold over 6 million of them, which is pretty good for 1924.
Yes. Oh, man.
And I think the difference between the 01 and the 01A was when they added thorium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a neat tube.
It is.
If I can jump in for a minute, the first 01As were running a full amp. And yeah, then when they and they just ate batteries, of course. So the 01A version, they dropped it, the fill current just a quarter of an amp, which really improved battery life. The Antique Wireless Association over the years has published a number of lists of manufacturers, and you're right on saying it was a super popular tube. Last list I saw, I think, had over 200 different brand names of 01A, and the list is just basically ongoing. I brought a couple of odd brands of 01As today, in keeping with our O theme. This is an OK 01A.
Nice.
And I have to thank another club member, I think it may have been Dan Olson, for putting this Ozarka 01A on the free table last week.
Sweet.
Yeah, one I'd never seen before. So
me
thank
either.
you, Dan, or whoever. It was a very nice tube to find.
Awesome, Dan. That is great. It's a good contribution to the tube of the month. The only other thing I wanted to say is that if you look at the article in the call letter, I really encourage everyone to go on Sonny Clutter's website too. And I can't remember the links now, but you go on his website and then follow it from what I've written there in the call letter. And he has an excellent document and article about early, not just the 01A, but a lot of early tubes from the 20s and 30s. And just an excellent article. I encourage everyone to check that out on Sonny's website, radiolaguy.com. That's all I have, unless there's any other questions, or I'll turn it back over to Pat.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much. All right, that looks like it's the end of the agenda items. Does anyone have any questions, any other items they want to talk about?
I did want to invite everybody to our Wednesday night radio Zoom. We've been doing it every Wednesday, so the more people, the better. Just bring some show and tell. We'd love to see any of your guys' projects or radios on Wednesday night, 7 p.m.
Hey, Franklin?
Yes.
Franklin? Are you guys recording those? Because I'm not able to make it to those meetings.
Yeah, I'm recording, but they do sometimes get corrupted, and then I can't post them
Oh,
to
okay.
YouTube. But I do try to get them on YouTube, especially when we have a good presentations. I love to put them on.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure, you bet, Jake.
So Franklin, for this coming Wednesday, do we have any tech talks or any topic? Any?
No, we haven't got anything set up, but anybody would like to bring one in, we'd love to have you. We missed you, Mark, last week. You guys from Hawaii is great.
Great.
He got to show us his weather report every Wednesday, but our weather's been great here too. So
Yeah, it's a freezing 68 this morning here. So what's where you're at there, Jeff?
I had to close the window this morning. It was just the cold air coming in was just too cold. It's being 68. It's great to see everybody and to check in with the club after so many years away. And
great,
really nice to see you all again.
it's nice to see you, Jeff. I'm so glad that you can make it and try to make our Wednesdays and too.
Okay.
And we're so glad you've made it to our things. And Kyle too. We always like to see new blood.
Of course.
Thank you, Kyle.
And there's a lot of hams in the group here too. So
I might
Yeah,
have
actually
one.
quite a few.
Yeah. I might have one, Franklin. And this is something that that Lyles showed me actually. And if it's all right, if Lyles doesn't want to do it, he showed me a real easy method to take a output transformer and speaker, and using a signal generator and a volt ohm meter, you can find out what the impedance is. So then if you want to take that and match that to the tube, the output tube, as far as what the plate resistance is on that, if you're trying to find out if you have an output transformer that's going to match pretty well with the tube, to determine what impedance is using those two devices.
Oh, that's fantastic. I sure appreciate all your little help.
You don't
tips that
mind.
we've been doing on
Is that all
Wednesday.
right with you, Lyles, if I show everybody that technique that you showed me?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So maybe Wednesday I can do that.
Fantastic.
Hey, Mike, does that work for permanent magnet speakers and also the field coil ones as well?
Yeah, because absolutely, because you're not checking the field coil at all. You're checking just the output transformer, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's for output transformers, not speakers.
Yeah, exactly. Just for the output transformer. And
Pat
so
is
yeah, the
looking for
speaker
someone to
doesn't
do
matter. Doesn't matter on the speaker at all. Permanent
Pat is looking
magnet or
for someone
field
to do-
coil, either one.
Do field coils. He's been talking about field coil repair as well as some DIY on field coil speakers. Right, Pat?
Yeah, because I have several radios I want to fix up, but I'm having a hard time finding the original speaker. So I was thinking about replacing it with a permanent magnet type, but I'm not sure the process to convert.
That's a totally different thing altogether. But yeah, but that's not a bad deal too. If somebody wants to show everything you need to do there, because you need to have a choke, and then another thing that comes into play is a lot of times the field coils will have a humbucking coil in there that runs in series with the secondary on the output transformer, and without that you can possibly introduce a little hum if you're trying to replace it with a permanent magnet speaker. But it can be done. I've seen people do that and put a choke or even some big wire wound resistors in place of the field coils.
Could you briefly explain what a field coil does?
Well, it does two things, which is kind of cool. It is first of all, it's a choke, or it is a wire wound choke that is put into the power supply, and either AC, DC, or transformer, so it doesn't matter. but it's in the power supply where the filter capacitors are. And normally they'll wire the field coil in between the input and then the output of electrolytic capacitors, which are the filter capacitors. That's the one thing it does. And the other thing it does, it is an electromagnet for the speaker itself, for the voice coil. And as soon as it's energized, then it becomes a magnet. And that is to operate, it gives magnetism to operate and get the voice coil to move in and out on the pole.
But don't some of those
speaker.
So
basically, that's the two things it does.
I'm going to interject there because they didn't have real good permanent magnets, and so that's why they did one of the reasons too. I understood. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good one, Mark. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mark. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's a good point.
So a field coil speaker does or doesn't have a permanent magnet also? Is that
No.
Does it? It doesn't have a permanent magnet?
No, the field coil is a magnet. It's just an electromagnet.
Okay.
I think there's.
Because I thought I've taken, and maybe they've just mounted the choke onto the side of the speaker, but I've ran speakers like that I thought were field coil speakers. They had some small transformer mounted to, the speaker chassis, and I went around that and ran the speaker, so it had to have had that type of speaker had a permanent magnet, because I was testing ohms and then I ran sound through those types of speakers, just bypassing whatever that small transformer type is mounted to the frame. Is that a choke then possibly mounted to those speakers that have permanent magnets?
Well,
probably the output transformer.
Probably.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
I've got a radio, is a Silvertone. It's model 6050. And what Silvertone did was they mounted a choke and the output transformer both right on top of the speaker, and then the speaker is a permanent magnet, and it's made from the factory that way.
All righty. Yeah, because like I said, I've come across speakers down the road. I just assumed that was required for that speaker to run, but I bypassed those and just ran the speaker.
One thing that might help, if it's the output transformer, it's going to have 4 leads coming out of it. If it's your field coil choke, it's only going to have 2 leads coming out of it.
Yep.
Okay.
That might clear it up. That might help clear it up.
Right. Yeah. Good point. That's right. Lyles is right.
Yep. Well, I didn't understand field coil because I'm mainly using modern speaker, and then when I've ever come across the speaker at a garage sale or whatever, and you just bypass whatever's mounted to the speaker frame, and then the speaker tends to work. So, but I didn't know what a field coil speaker did anyway. So,
well, that's basically it.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's it creates electromagnet for that type of speaker.
Yeah, and it's also important that it also serves as a function as a choke that is in the main power supply.
Yeah.
Alrighty. That's just a little bit before my time. That's all. These field coil speakers.
Okay, well, I guess if there's nothing else, does anyone have anything else before we adjourn?
Yeah, this is Don. I wanted to throw in a kind of a nitpick on the this topic, that if you're looking for a transformer, an output transformer to match your speaker to replace a field coil speaker, the plate resistance of the tube from the tube manual isn't the number you're going to want. This is kind of complicated, but it's the AC or dynamic resistance looking into the tube And for a pentode, it might be 100 times what the output resistance of the amplifier is, the output impedance of the amplifier, which you want to match. Is what you want to match. You might have, that might be 2,000 ohms, where the actual, it's actually the dynamic plate resistance looking into the plate, which might be 200,000 ohms. That's the AC. It's really, if you somehow inject a signal at the plate, an AC signal, that tells you how much the plate, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like it's going to be the load impedance that the plate gives to your generator that's inserting that signal at that point. And I don't blame you if it doesn't make any sense. But the point is, you want to make sure that it's the output impedance of the stage, which you would get from the characteristics. I mean, what is it? The tube chart in the tube manual, and you have to kind of probably put that together from finding the operating point, and then put a ruler on the graph and blah blah. But that'll give you the right number.
Okay, so dynamic.
Or you
plate
could just
resistance
guess.
then.
Yeah, a rough guess usually works though.
Well, that's another thing on this. This stuff is like, hand grenades and horseshoes pretty much, because it's really, really forgiving. You can have an impedance on your output transformer that's off a few thousand ohms, depending on what the book is calling for plate resistance, and you put it in the radio.
Could I interrupt?
Speaker,
I'm sorry.
it plays just fine. So these
Could
things.
I interrupt? I'm sorry. This is Don again. Yeah, it's not. That's what I was trying to say. The plate resistance of the tube in the tube manual is not the number you want.
Yeah.
And for a pentode, that might be a couple 100,000 ohms to maybe 1 million. For an output tube, it's probably more like a couple 100,000. And your amplifier output impedance might be 2,000 ohms.
The fact that
which
it's so
would match
forgiving, that's why they could sell universal output transformers.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be usually anywhere from 1,000 ohms to, 15,000. And you can play around with it.
Right. Yeah, that's about what you're going to find when you go and check one of these. So
And the only thing you're sacrificing by not really matching it is some fidelity, and you may not even notice what you're missing fidelity.
Yeah, if you want to trade a little power for fidelity, use a transformer with a little bit higher impedance on the tube side. It won't load the stage down, which causes distortion, but you won't get as much power either.
that's good. That's good to know. I'm now that you've mentioned that, I'll do a little more research, so we can come up with more of an accurate number by Wednesday night, hopefully. But thanks, Don. Appreciate your input on that.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Esteban's here, and we have to go up to Jeff Quay's place to pick up the Jorgensen estate. So we have to use a truck and a trailer. So Franklin, I've got to leave, so I'll have to sign off.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Meeting is the meeting adjourned, Pat?
Yeah, I believe so. You guys can hang on later if you want. I just have to get ready to go.
Okay, I gotta go too. I have to help my wife do some work. which means I'm gonna be doing some work. Anyway.
Thanks all for coming. We sure
you
appreciate
bet.
it. We're
Thank
great
you, Franklin.
attendance.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right, do you know how to get there?
No.
All right, I'll have to. Sorry about that.